It's February, and it's week 7 of the golfing calendar. Now, two men who know more about golf than I've had hot dinners. And oh boy, I can tell you, I've had a lot of hot dinners. This is Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen. Radio boys, time to take it away and show us what you got. This is Talk Birdie To Me.
Well, hello and welcome to episode 1 of Talk Birdie To Me. I'm Mark Allen. Nick O'Hearn will join me very, very soon. And I can tell you this about the program. We're going to talk about the most important things in golf. If you love golf, you're not going to want to miss the opening of our programs. Plus, we're going to touch on everything that involves Australian golf, things that are interesting. And by the way, I'm probably going to tell you about my golf. And Nick's going to tell you about his golf. And we're all going to try and play golf a little bit better together. And here he is, a bloke who got to number 16 in the whole world and didn't beat Tiger once. He beat him twice just for good measure. Nick O'Hearn, nice to see you.
Great to be with you, Mark. And the thing was, I found his weakness, you see. He doesn't like short-hitting left-handed Australians.
Yeah, of course that would be his weakness. When you saw him after it all, and so I'm glad I've never really had this conversation with you on air.
No, far away.
So when he used to see you afterwards, so you've beaten him twice. You're the only bloke in the whole world who's beaten him twice. Did he try to avoid you? Did he avoid eye contact?
It was weird. The second time I beat him was in 2007 at the World Match Play. And my family and I were moving to Florida at that time. We hadn't actually got there yet. We're going to go over to rent Craig Parry's house at this golfing estate called Isleworth.
That's where he lived?
That's where he lived, right? So anyway, we land there after the match play, a week after, and I'm thinking, okay, we're just settling into the house and all this. Yeah. I thought, I'll go and hit some balls. Go down to the range. Guess who's on the range?
Of course he is.
It's Tiger hitting balls. I drive the golf cart up behind him. He doesn't see me and just plonk the cart there, start hitting balls. He turns around and looks at me and goes, well, I won't tell you what exactly he said.
Oh, really?
He said, what the are you doing here?
That's what I expect too.
All right.
That's what I expect. No, that is magnificent.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun being there at Isleworth. And when I used to see him grinding, day after day after day, and there's a reason he was the best in the world. He was, physically incredible, mentally incredible, but he worked harder than everyone else.
Mate, I'm incredibly excited about doing this podcast with you. I'm really looking forward to it. But let's get to the biggest two stories in golf this week. One of them is Tiger Woods playing this week at I always forget the name of the course. Riviera, beautiful hole. What's that hole like with the par 3 with the bunker in the middle of the green?
It's got the bunker in the middle, 6th hole, but it's got the best one of the best short par 4s in the world, the 10th.
It's a cracker.
It's brilliant.
I want to talk about Tiger and what that means to the world of golf in a second, but the big story as far as I'm concerned, and this involves LIV Golf, it is Dustin Johnson, who is a superstar of the game and hands down a top 3 player in the world no matter what, has just dropped out of the top 50 in the world, and Bryson DeChambeau, who just... when he was playing on the PGA Tour, was winning majors, always seemed to be in the top 5 or top 10. He has just dropped out of the top 100 in the world, and I just can't fathom what is going on to our game.
Well, what would you expect? I mean, they went to LIV, right, fully expecting that they're not going to get into tournaments that have world ranking points. They're playing their own schedule. It's no surprise, and when you look at it, when Tiger, for instance, had all that time off, through injury, or Phil had time off when he took 6 months away from the game, their world rankings plummeted.
That's right.
I mean, plummeted from like 30 to 60 or 70 or whatever it is within 6 months. So now they've been in LIV, how long now, you reckon? It's been...
it's a year. Let's say it's a year. Yeah. One season. It's been a season.
Okay, it's been a season. So... it's no surprise. And, they kind of, if they're complaining about it, which I know they are, they're saying, the world ranking shouldn't be legit and all that. But don't worry, they've been well compensated for it.
Yeah. Now, I want to ask you, because a lot of people talk about they should get world ranking points. You and I have just done a series of tournaments, and it is very, very clear, it is extremely clear that the test of professional golf is best over 4 rounds. How many times have we, even at the level they're playing, how many times have we seen leaders after 3 rounds crumble away when there's one more? And that is the test. That's why it's so important when you're a junior golfer not to play in these 72-hole events that are 36 and 36. The art and the skill of learning to play 4 tournament days in a row is very different to playing 3 tournament days in a row.
Oh, it certainly is. And the thing is, 54-hole events, it just doesn't excite me very much.
That's right.
I'm a traditionalist, and obviously you are as well. The 36 holes, they have a cut.
Yep.
One of the great things I love about the game is how cutthroat it is.
Yeah.
If you don't play well enough for 2 days, you're packing your bags.
You're out.
You made no money. You got a few expenses just added up, and the game gets hard. You miss 6 cuts in a row, and you're maybe starting to look for another job. So the way they've structured it, the team aspect, I don't mind it. I think there's some merit to that. But the shotgun starts, the 54 holes, the no cut, I'm not a fan over the season.
Okay, so we're not fans, but we want to see the best golfers playing together every week. I can't see it happening. And the reason I can't see it happening is because the money that was offered to DJ and Bryson and everybody else, Poulter, the whole lot, it was also offered to Spieth. It was offered to Rahm. It was offered to the big boys who didn't go. So can you imagine? I mean, if you and I were offered that money, let's just go to a different transient world where you and I are the best players in the whole world, all right? And we were offered hundreds of millions of dollars to go to this league, but we thought we could still win majors, and we didn't take the money. And they went, and then they started slagging the PGA Tour off, which some of them did. Not all of them, some of them. And then they want to come back, and they want to eat that cake and then come back.
Yep.
I'm not. If I'm voting, there is no way in the world I'm letting them come back.
I'm with you. I mean, look, if they're past champions for the majors and all that, totally agree. Yep, you can come back and play those. But if you go, you go. And I have no issue with them going.
I'm with you.
If I was at a certain stage in my career, I'd go, sure. I mean, Mark Leishman, completely understand. The one that really surprised me was Cam Smith.
Oh.
After he won the Open, I thought, this guy has a chance to become the greatest Australian golfer ever. I mean, and that's going to be up for debate no matter who you talk to, whether it's Peter Thompson or Kari Webb. Some people say Greg Norman, but I don't think he's probably in that echelon of those two. But Cam, after that I thought, wow, did he really just sign? I mean, he must have signed for a boatload. And the thing that surprised me the most was I think the year before he said, look, what am I going to do with more money? Buy a bigger boat? So his reasoning is also, I mean, look, I'm not going to say what's right or wrong in this case, but his reasoning was I want to spend more time at home with the family, play a little more condensed schedule, which looking at the LIV schedule, that didn't work out this year.
You could almost live in Australia half the year probably if you wanted to.
If you wanted to, but funnily enough, if you look at the new schedule that's come out, it's spread out over about 10 or 11 months. It's not in a 3 or 4 month window that they were originally talking about.
And it's much easier if you live in America to
Very
play
true,
it. Much, much easier to do. I'm with you. And if I was offered the money that DJ and all these other guys, even if I wasn't that much money, if I was 45 years old and Ian Poulter, and I already got a garage full of Ferraris and all the rest of it, I don't want to go to the Seniors Tour if I'm those guys. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be a Seniors Tour player. If they offered me at that stage where you're on the wrong side of the bell curve, and
Westwood, same one.
So Westwood, and you're on the wrong side of the bell curve, the money's just too good.
Yep.
You're not going to make that money on the Champions Tour on the PGA. You're just not. So you can't blame them, but it's just the wrong format. 54 holes of golf and no cut. I just don't give you world ranking points for that, and I don't think it'll ever happen.
No. Well, there's a process.
It'll never happen.
There's a process to go through for world ranking points. I heard a little while ago, like Tiger's event in the Bahamas, they say, that's a 12-man field, 15-man field, whatever it is, might be 20.
I think it's 20 now,
20 now, yeah. They get world ranking points. Well, I think they went through a 4 or a 5 year process to get world ranking points. So there's a thing you have to go through to get them. They want it now, which is just like, hang on, you started your tour 6 months, 12 months ago. That's not going to happen. There's a process to go through here. And then they say, well, there's, everyone who sits on the world ranking board is PGA Tour or European Tour or whatever it is, but they're not going to get them anytime soon.
Well, let's go through the checklist, right? You can be the judge and jury. Should you get world ranking points if you're only playing 54 holes every week?
There are 54-hole events that do come around. Yeah. There might be the odd exception.
Every week?
But every week, no. There's one.
Yeah. Shotgun start.
Well, that really doesn't have much to do with the world ranking points, I don't think. I just don't like that format because what I was really going to hope would happen with a LIV Golf tournament is the winner ended up on the 15th hole or something like that. The crowd's waiting around 18. Every event, though, it's worked out perfectly for them, but it would have been funny in that regard.
So I don't think so. I think one of the beautiful things of professional golf is if you play 36 holes and you've got the wrong side of the draw.
True.
And you've just squeezed through on Saturday, then you get the early tee time.
Yes, you get the good conditions.
And you get the good conditions. And now, you might have been screwed in rounds 1 and 2, but it levels up in round 3.
Yeah. This is why you're not a fan of the U draw.
I hate the U draw. Okay. No, I absolutely hate it. Now, we'll have to explain the U draw another day. We've got to explain the U draw another day. So I hate the fact that there is a shotgun start. I think you need the early morning to play one in good weather, one in bad weather perhaps in an afternoon. It just, it's the full test. It's what we're talking about, where you've got to play well in all conditions over 4 rounds of golf to see who the champion golfer of the week is.
I totally get the shotgun start, though. It feels more like the Spring Cup or the Corporate Cup or whatever it might be. The other thing is the no cut. I mean, 48 players. There are guys playing LIV, who have signed up, have never made a cut on the PGA Tour, and they're asking for world ranking points.
Yes.
How does that work?
I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
No. So I'm happy with the way it sits. I don't begrudge one player for what they're doing. In fact, I'm really happy for them. I would, if they invited me to the party to celebrate signing for 80 million, so 20 million a year, I'm going to go there and I'm going to give them the biggest hug in the world and say, well done, mate. You deserve it.
Well, the other thing around that is also I'm curious to see with the no cuts, the 54 holes, how their games progress over the next 2 years or a couple of years. Are they going to grind out a 71 when they're not playing well? They're going, it doesn't matter. I'm going to get paid anyway.
After the court case, will they be able to play on the DP World Tour?
Well, that's coming up, right?
That's coming up soon.
Yeah.
So that's
now, I've heard, again, the DP World Tour, they may want to lose this court case because all of a sudden, if they lose it, they're going to get all these top players playing their tournaments. So there's a bit of an issue coming up there with their strategic alliance with the PGA Tour. I don't know how it's all going to play out. And you were talking about, guys like Poulter and Garcia and Westwood before. They're going, well, we've built this tour up. No, they haven't. That's the Sevis and the Langers and the Faldos. Sure, they've had amazing careers, been phenomenal players in the Ryder Cup and all that, but for them to come back and then try and take the cake that these up-and-coming players are now trying to eat themselves, it doesn't sit well with me.
Okay, Tiger Woods is back in town, even if it's just for 1 week. Now, he drives the Genesis car and it's the Genesis tournament, but a very, very big tournament. And, of course, this tournament coming up is a bit like last week. It's one of those agreed tournaments where all the big boys who are left on the PGA Tour have said, okay, we've got to start playing together more often.
Elevated event.
That's right.
Yes.
So, big money. All the big names that are left on the PGA Tour, and now Tiger's playing.
Okay, I got a question for you. What do you think his odds are this week? At a guess.
Well, his odds for bookmakers, because they're silly, probably have got him at 15 to 1 or something.
No, much higher.
Have they got him at 200 to 1?
150 to 1.
Yeah, well, I think that's about right. I think that's about right. It's probably worth having $10 on him, though.
Absolutely. They're going to get flooded with bets, I reckon. That there might be a line on whether he makes the cut as well.
I've got a question for you. He starts getting real sore after round 1. Do you let him ride a cart in round 2? I don't think he ever would. I don't think he ever would. I reckon his pride would stop that from happening.
You're spot on. He won't.
But if he asked, would you let him?
He won't ask.
Yeah, he won't ask.
He won't ask. If there's a hypothetical in there I think, why not? Let him go. Why not? But he will never ask because that's not the ego, well, a little bit of the ego, but the pride of the man. He will just think, no, that's not in the spirit of the game. And it's one of the reasons he didn't go across to the other side as well. They've offered him, close to $1 billion for that. But
$800 million he got asked to go over to LIV.
That's not bad, is it?
And I am told by a reliable source, he only had to play in four tournaments a year.
Really?
So it was 50 million a tournament. He was going to get
hang on. That's more than that.
Well, it was 200, 200 and 200 for 800 million.
Right.
So it was 50 million a start.
Ooh,
for 4 years.
But then he knows his legacy is going to be destroyed as well. So he wouldn't. And how much money's enough at the end of the day? That's one of the other things. But it's great to see him back at Riviera. He debuted there as a 16-year-old as an amateur. So
have you seen the footage of his old swing when he was 16?
It was brilliant.
How silky. How so easily did the shoulders turn on the way back?
And how skinny was he? It's incredible. But I reckon he's thinking Masters right now. This is his prep for the Masters. Yep. Maybe Bay Hill possibly, but the Players' Championship, I'm not sure about that one. but this is a start of his preparation for the Masters. So we'll see.
What happens if he comes out and shoots 67 in the first round? He's 1 or 2 back. I mean, every single sporting eye in the whole world. I mean, what he did at the Masters, however long ago it was, when he came back and won that event, that was the biggest story on earth that week.
Absolutely.
After the car crash and the rest, if he comes back and he's anywhere near it. So I don't think he can actually walk 72 holes anymore.
Well, it's a hard climb up the 18th at Riviera too, back to the clubhouse. He might need a cart to get up there because that's a steep hill.
Have they got one of those ropes that you get dragged up the clubhouse?
A little elevator, right? Just stand on it and it just moves you up there.
If he's anywhere near it, if he comes out after playing, I'm sure, just 9 holes and 9 holes, they'll look after him. I don't even think they'll let him play in the Pro-Am. He'll say, listen, I don't want to play in the Pro-Am. I'm happy to come and play, but it's a Genesis event. I'll do something else. But I'm not playing in the Pro-Am. He'll play 9 holes and just go. But I don't think he can walk 72 holes. No, I think it's as simple as that.
And how competitive he'll be, I don't know. All the other guys are going to love having him there. But I think the last couple of competitive rounds he's played has been in golf carts. So like the father-son and then he pulled out of his Hero Challenge because of plantar fasciitis. So he's got some real issues with his body going forward, and it's just great to see him back, and the world is going to be a buzz too.
I want to talk about Scotty Scheffler very, very soon. We're going to make the turn here on Talk Birdie To Me very, very soon. But before we do talk about Scotty Scheffler, tell me about your experiences on the 16th hole, the party hole at the Waste Management.
Oh, yeah.
16. What is it like? You come through the tunnel.
Oh, yeah.
You come through the tunnel and you hear the noise. I'm sure you'll be able to hear the noise from all over from the whole course.
You can hear it on 15 already. Well, the whole course. But as you walk off 15, which is a bit of an island green, the par 5, you're thinking, here we go. And you just hear the murmurs as you're walking through. And as you come out the tunnel, you either hear the random, oh, who's this guy? Or, they start laying into you straight away. And I've played that tournament so many times, and if you do not hit a really good shot, they boo you. I've hit the green and they booed me. I missed the green once, which is fair enough, they boo you, and I completely agreed. But the problem with them was I hit a really great chip, almost went in, kind of burned the edge to about 3 feet, and they booed me because the thing didn't bloody go in. I mean, that's a tough crowd right there. And then when I made the par putt, a great up and down, they didn't really give me a clap or anything. It was just a bit of a murmur. So they are brutal. And we saw some fun there last week on the Saturday, actually. Did you see the Saturday event with Rahm when he made that putt? I mean, they were begging to throw stuff. They were begging to throw stuff on that green, and they finally did with that final group.
What about the streaker? The streaker was one thing. Did you see the streaker's mugshot?
No, I never did.
I'll tweet.
He had some paint all over him, right?
Yeah, I'll tweet the mugshot out, which is a beauty.
Did he have the mullet?
Yeah. Now, look, we're about to make the turn. Scotty Scheffler's swing. I've got some thoughts on it. In fact, I've got my top 5 coming up very, very soon. My top 5 for the way their swing actually looks compared to their actual ability.
So the ultimate...
And the difference. So I've got my top 5 on poor swings versus unbelievable ability.
So overachievers, basically.
Yeah, that is right. All right, I'll catch you on the 10th tee.
You're listening to Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen. This is Talk Birdie To Me.
You right to go? Come on, let's get going. What are we? God, it's a brand new show, you see. Talk Birdie To Me. I've got to remember the name. I was going to say Chasing Birdies there, but it's not. It's Talk Birdie To Me. Now, I want to give this top 5 in a tick. I'm really keen to do it. Okay,
but before you do, hang on. The Phoenix event. Just got to talk a little bit about that first because I want to come back. You mentioned Scheffler, obviously. He won the golf tournament, went back to number 1 in the world, overtook Rory, who didn't play that well. Rahm, by the way, I mean, how good is that guy playing?
How is he number 3 in the world?
Yeah, he finished his last, I had a look earlier, his last 9 starts, he hasn't finished worse than 8th, and he has had 4 wins in that. I mean, that's insane. And he's number 3 in the world. Yeah. He's playing some ridiculous golf. However, that's not the question of, anything I want to talk to you about. I saw this and I couldn't believe it happened. Jordan Spieth on the 15th hole.
That's the par 5 with the sort of island green sort of thing?
Island green, yeah. Okay. And I'll ask you what you would do. And it baffled me what he did on this hole. 305-yard drive in the fairway. He's 7 shots
in the fairway.
In the fairway.
Right.
7 shots behind, 4 holes to go. He needs to, and you can do this. He needs to finish eagle, birdie, eagle, birdie. It's possible.
He can do it.
17's an eagle hole, 15's an eagle hole. He's between what I heard, hybrid and 4-iron. That's the yardage. Pins at the front, hybrid and 4-iron. Right?
So in between it's almost a 5-wood and a 4-iron for him.
Something like that, yeah. And
so cake.
He laid up, okay?
No, he did not.
He laid up.
He did not.
Hit wedge.
He hit wedge second.
Well, second, yeah, and then third onto the green.
Wedge.
Wedge. Made his 5, went to the next. Are you kidding me?
That's not Jordan Spieth.
That surprised me. Now, this is a guy
That's an imposter in Jordan Spieth's clothes. There's no way he would do that.
Well, my question was, what would you have done in that situation? You know,
I would have cut up my 5-wood, or I would have stepped on a 4-iron and had a crack.
And afterwards, it was like, no, I didn't have the right yardage. I thought, not the right yardage.
Not the right yardage.
He's a professional golfer. Anyway, I'm cutting up Jordan a little bit here.
You can grip down. You can hit a little cut. You can draw the 4-iron. You can put the 4-iron back in your stance and slam one in there. You can do lots of stuff.
Maybe you just wanted that top 5 finish. I don't know, but it's a weird thing to watch. I couldn't believe it when it happened. And I thought, hang on, he's won how many majors? He's won how many tournaments? You don't play for second. So anyway, that was something that really surprised me out there. But now, get back to your...
Yeah. Do you understand Scotty Scheffler's swing? He's the world number 1.
Yes.
You understand it.
Yeah,
explain that.
He takes it back. He takes it through. The ball goes really straight, and he puts the lights out.
Well, look, I just can't get over it. When he does that,
it's old school.
When he does the rehearsal practice swing and the club's coming over the top, like the shaft is getting steeper. Yeah. I'm looking there going, are you practicing a steeper? You want to come down steeper, or is that just something that's idiosyncratic in your practice swing that always happens? And then the footwork.
Yeah, well, it's old school.
His footwork is off the charts.
Well, it is for the modern day golfer. If you look at his footwork compared to Norman in the day, Calcavecchia in the day, it's basically the same.
The one thing that I can see that he makes sense to me is he's not trying to release the club through impact. Mm-hmm. He just it's almost like a putting stroke through impact.
Rotates the chest and
just
everything.
Rotates chest. So the club head never rotates through impact like, let's say, Rory McIlroy does.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's what it looks like to me.
I haven't slow-moed it down, but, you know. You're baffled by this, aren't you?
If I saw Scotty Scheffler at Kingston Heath...
Would he make the pennant team?
If I just saw his swing. And let's say I had never seen Scotty Scheffler before in my life. And we put a hood on everybody's head down the driving range, so I didn't know who they were, right? And everyone's down there swinging. He wouldn't get a game at my home club's pennant team. Wow. They've all got better, to my eye, they've all got better swings.
I'd probably agree. I've seen the pennant team and they're very
good. They are very good. My top 5 this week, we're going to have lots of top 5s and Talk Birdie To Me. We're going to have one every single week. And my top 5 this week is the look of a champion's swing, bad swings, versus their ability.
Okay.
All right, so there's going to be the distance between. Scotty Scheffler's my number 5.
Okay.
I look at this guy swing the golf club, like I said, I don't see how he gets in anyone's pennant team.
His ability doesn't match the swing.
What he's done, but just on paper, it's very different. He's won a Masters. He's number 1 in the world, the whole. Number 2.
Okay.
Oh, there's number 4.
Number 4. We're going reverse.
Second on the list. Bernard Langer.
Ooh, that's interesting.
2 Masters, untouchable on the Champions Tour, World Golf Hall of Fame superstar. The follow through, I don't get. The closed club face, I don't get. The way he does a lot of things, I just don't get.
I must admit his follow through. He leans like it's going 30, meters left, and it's 3 feet left. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it looks like to me like he's hitting big cuts. I've played with him. I've seen him live. He hits big draws. So what I see on the TV versus what he actually does, it just doesn't make sense to me. So he's number 4.
Okay.
Old school. He had the stare. One of the greats.
Oh, yeah, it's got to be.
Raymond Floyd.
He's a legend.
Rip it inside, slow it down at the top, somehow set it mid-backswing, and then smoke it through.
Yeah. Well, halfway back, his shaft was almost, pointing way behind him. A little bit Ramesh.
It was. A little
bit Ramesh in that way.
It was actually parallel with the ground. Yeah. So I don't know how he did. This bloke, I'm not sure whether you'd know. His name is number 2, Bruce Letsky. Never won a major. I don't think the world rankings were really in vogue when he was around, but there's a great story about him. I don't know whether you've heard it. He used to say he didn't practice, so his caddy just to test him out. And he used to come out and just win tournaments and, always up there, top 10, Brainham. He said he'd never ever practiced.
Seriously?
So his caddy to test him, at the end of the season one year in October, his caddy put 3 bananas in his golf bag.
Oh, no.
In his golf bag. And the first week of the next season, the caddy was handed the golf bag. He looked in there, the 3 bananas were in there, and they were a disgrace.
How's the smell going?
So it was proof. He never ever practiced Bruce Lesky.
Wow.
He's up there,
Okay.
and the number one's too easy.
Well,
Jim Furyk.
It's got to be. Yeah.
Jim Furyk. I mean, how do you swing like that? Did he get the number 1 in the world? I reckon he might have for one
Number
week.
2, I know that at least.
He shot a 59. He shot a 58 as well. He's won the US Open. Beat who? Quiz question mid podcast.
Stephen Leaney.
Stephen Leaney
Was
from
it
Western
US
Australia.
Open? No, it was the PGA.
No, it was
wasn't
the
it?
US Open.
Was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
US Open.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beat Stephen Leaney.
Yeah.
He's
Jim's the
number one.
ultimate grinder, though. I've played golf with him, and practice rounds. It's like it's a year 12 exam. He's just taken every note and detail possible.
Are you joking?
It's unbelievable. Him and Fluff together, they are the best combo ever.
Yeah. His swing actually looks better than it used to. When he first came out, he made a trip to Australia a long time ago, and everyone, like he played at Royal Melbourne, and everyone was going, "You've got to go see this guy from America's golf swing." I'm going, all right, well, I'll go down and have a look if it's that bad. Like everybody was talking about it. I went down and had a look, and I just didn't know who he was, and I just couldn't believe. I thought he was one of the amateurs, and he came on the wrong. It wasn't Pro-Am day. It was Jim Furyk. And
Wow.
he was sitting there fat and disgusting.
You'll think, is this guy playing a 4 or 5?
Yeah, it was ridiculous, and he ended up being like a human ATM.
Yeah.
All-time money list. I think he's number 10 in there, or he
was leading it for a while.
He was
I think.
leading the all-time
That's
money
crazy.
winners of all time, and he has the worst swing I've ever seen compared to the ratio of how good you were.
Ball doesn't know that, though, so that's okay.
Hey, you and I did the Vic Open last week. Let's talk about it while we can. Ji Shin, obviously just remarkable on the last day. She was always going to win, wasn't she? I mean, when you look at it, even though Cassie was doing very well.
Yeah, I mean, I have a real soft spot for Cassie. Her coach, she's caddy for me, Daniel Morrison, down here in Australia. Won my first tournament with Morrow on the bag at Coolum. Yeah, back in 99. So she's an amazing girl, but the wind just kind of, it got her on the last day, and she just needs to do a bit of development with her game. She just needs that added dimension of how to play in the wind, and I hope for her sake that she really took notice of what Ji Shin did in that last round. She'll look back, at the time, I know she was devastated, but she'll look back and hopefully she goes through every shot she hit, every shot GA hit, and go, right, now I know what I need to do, and now I know how to close tournaments, because she was the what did they say? The queen, the final round queen was Ji Shin, and she just hammered home the title. It was brilliant.
Cassie's sensational. First 3 rounds you could actually see, and she gets to America, not much wind, courses will suit her. She's got a big future over there in America. Yeah. I mean, can't go to Europe. Don't even bother. Just go straight to the States.
Yeah, going to the Ep1 tour first. So she shouldn't have any issue getting through and onto the LPGA tour, hopefully.
Let's talk about Michael Henry. And I know we saw him interviewed at the halfway mark when he was 18 under par, shot 126. Please tell what we both heard him say. It was just unbelievable.
The comment was very, very interesting. It was like, you're only one bad swing away from disaster. Now, for someone who's just shot 18 under and leading the tournament, you go, that probably shouldn't enter your mind, I wouldn't think. And then, funnily enough, in the final round, he birdied the first 2 holes, his playing partner, Justin Warren. By the way, Justin Warren, how was that for an amazing
43-33 on the last day?
How good a 76 was that?
That was incredible. Strong mental stuff.
Started with a triple. So all of a sudden, Henry's got a 6-shot lead playing the third, and then hits some spectator way right of the green, and I'm thinking, well, was that the bad swing he's talking about? I don't know, but to his credit, he played beautifully all day and never let the other guys back into it. So the one that was a real tough one for me, again, from a personal thing, was watching Elvis play the last. Elvis Smiley. He hit that hosel rocket left, and then the drop and everything. And,
can we talk about the drop?
Okay, go for it.
Because I reckon he was bullied into the drop, and I'm talking about Mike Clayton. He's big enough and old enough and strong enough to take a little bit of criticism, and it might not. He might be right. We were in the commentary box, but when you've just hit a hosel rocket, a cousin Hank, and it's going to cost you a lot of money and just a young bloke, and then you are asked to go back and stand on the slippery path, those stony paths.
That worried me.
And then hit another long iron when the kid is begging him, no, I just want to hit an 8-iron or a 9-iron over the top. Yeah. I mean, a short iron to hit the fairway is much easier. To go back and to do that
Just get some grass under the ball. Just let me hit the face.
Please just let me find the face. I reckon he was bullied into going back there. What do you make, a double bogey?
He made double and slipped down to about 5th or 6th position. But, that was a tough one. And then the other story was Ryan Ruffles.
Just before, go on. Yeah.
61 to open. How good was that?
So he was the story day one.
And then the story day two.
He was the story day two as well for making 9 on the 36th hole.
It was hard to watch. But he had a great attitude and it's good to see him back playing.
Can we just say congratulations to the people running the Vic Open, Golf Australia. They did an unbelievable. That tournament now is very, very good. It's very watchable. They've done a great job with it. I know they had trouble with prize money this year. I reckon don't even worry. That's going to get back really, really soon. Don't even worry about it. Yep. It's a great event and it works well for that event. And the reason it works well for that event is because 10 years ago when they started it, the Vic Open had $100,000 to play for, something like that. And the girls didn't even have a tournament. And now it is something special.
Well, it's the way to go, I think, the men and women, especially here, in Australia for a lot of these events. We've got the TPSs and all that. Whether they play for the same purse or separate, that's up for debate. But I think having the men and women play together is awesome.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So 13th Beach did a great job. Course was pure. Didn't get the weather we were hoping for, so the scores were lower, obviously, but it blew the last day and really tested them.
Just while we're talking about the men and women playing together, Golf Australia are determined to do it again in Sydney on the Australian Open, the biggest stage.
Well, that's coming.
So,
which two courses are we looking at here? I think it was the Australian and the Lakes, maybe, is what I heard.
We'll get in touch.
So
I'll get in touch and I'll find out.
Okay.
I'll find out which ones they're thinking about next week. I don't think the players enjoyed the 5-hour rounds. I know the players didn't enjoy the U draws.
Well, it's 5 hours anyway, really.
Yeah. I know that. Well, there's the wait. I think the waiting at the turn. I don't think they liked it.
No.
They want to fiddle with it. I think they need to fiddle with it because you don't want people going home with a bad experience in their mind.
For sure. Yeah.
So I think the experiment is still worth having a crack at.
I think
have a crack at the experiment and get it right.
Yeah. I think for the viewer watching, I think it's awesome.
It is sensational
On
for
course
the viewer.
for the players and that, there's still tweaking to be done. I think the spectators loved it. Maybe sometimes it gets a bit slow, but that's just the nature of it. I think they need to tweak the cuts and how they do all that. Because at the end of the day, you want the best 60 or 70 players playing that final Sunday, men and women together.
Yeah, it has to happen. So I'm all for the experiment. It was great at Victoria. I want to see it improved for Sydney. If you can improve it, I think the players will like it as well. And then if you've got the players on board, then you've got everybody on board. And that'll work.
Totally agree.
What's coming up? Anything good?
We got some good, some other kind of results. We never mentioned Rain Gibson won the Corn Ferry Tour event.
Did he hold 2 shots in a row in that event?
I know he made 2 eagles. He shot 7 under 64, won by 4 shots.
I think he holed 2 shots in a row. It wasn't a hold putt.
Wow. Oh, okay.
And then a hold shot. Wow. I think it was 2 hold shots in a row for back-to-back eagles. So
seriously,
that was incredible.
Yeah, but that was a good win for him in Bogota, Colombia. I played there, and the elevation is insane. The ball goes a mile. I felt like Bryson DeChambeau out there. How far I was hitting it.
So how far when you're in Bogota? So if you hit your 160 yards, we're in yards.
Wow, it's a 7-iron, 160 yards, 7-iron. All of a sudden it's flying about 180, 85
So just add on the first 2 numbers to the actual number and you get it?
Two clubs almost. 2 clubs. I played my first hole there in the practice round and I hit driver. It was a par 5. I played the 10th and I thought, okay, I'm going to hit a 3-wood, because it was about 250 metres in, which for me is just, I'm never getting there.
Yeah.
The thing flew over the back and I thought, might have to adjust here. Yeah.
And if you're wondering why, it's just because of the air pressure. It's thinner air and there's less friction.
Elevation.
No friction through the air and it makes it very, very simple. You've got one more thing on your list, and it's an important one.
Yes, Champions Tour in the US are actually playing over in Morocco. Richard Green won the Q School. I mean, you know how hard that is? That's like winning, not a major, but close to it.
I think
he won
every stage of it as well. He just brained them.
It was incredible. But Stephen Ames ended up winning, but Mark Hensby, Aussie, finished second, and Greeny in his first Champions Tour event finished third. So kudos to Greeny. He's got off to the perfect start. He's going to make a fortune over there.
Yeah, and that's all after what we've seen with Stevie Elka from New Zealand. That was to me, that was the best golf story of last year. There's a lot of rubbish stories last year in golf with LIV and everything else. But what Steve Elka did over there to win their points, whatever it is, their FedEx Cup, whatever it is on the Champions Tour, best story of the year.
Well, he's the best over 50 player in the world. Maybe he could have even been top 50 in the world if Champions Tour had world rankings. But you know why they don't? 54 holes.
Carry play.
Okay, every week we're doing this new thing. It's called the Masterclass. Okay, now Mark, what do we got this week?
Well, we're going to try and do it so we learn from what we've seen the previous week. So you might learn from something good, you might learn from something bad. All right, but this week we're going to learn from something good. Ji Shin, she controlled her ball better than everybody else in the last round of the Vic Open. It was just really easy to see. I think Suo shot the low round of the day, 67. But in the heat of battle, when you're trying to win a tournament, Ji Shin was just superb. You and I spoke about controlling the spin in the commentary, and very rarely you're trying to put more spin on a golf ball. In fact, it doesn't happen in the wind especially. So the way Ji was doing it is really, really simple. You can hit a flat out, let's say her 8-iron goes 150 yards. You can hit the flat out 8-iron to go 150 yards, no worries. But if you want the 8-iron to go 140 yards into a stiff wind, you don't want to hit the same amount of spin on the short irons. You just don't, because the wind can have its way with the ball and go anywhere. So the way players control the spin is they grip down a club, they'll go down at least 2 inches on the grip itself, they'll do a little three-quarter shot, and if they take a divot normally, they try not to take a divot. It's very simple. And what happens then when you don't take a divot, the ball will take off at a similar height, but it'll take off with much less spin, and instead of all the friction through the air, it will just glide through the air because the ball won't be spinning, and it's just a better way to control your ball in the wind. So it's very simple. Grip down, three-quarter swing, and try not to take a divot.
Beautiful. How easy.
And every single week, I'm going to put a video on, or you're going to put a video on. We're going to put it on all our socials. Just look for Talk Birdie To Me. Good on you, Nico. I'll catch you next week.
Cheers, Mark. Look forward to watching your masterclass.
Bet you do.
Nice work. Great show, boys. Don't forget to subscribe to Talk Birdie To Me wherever you get your podcasts, and rate and review the pod. That'd be super helpful. And the show's on all the normal socials: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Tinder. Maybe not Tinder, but all the other ones. Just search Talk Birdie To Me. And Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen will see you next week for another episode of golf's newest, hottest podcast, Talk Birdie To Me. Executive producer of Talk Birdie To Me is Dan Bradley at Kaizen Media, and sound designed by Daryl Misson at loudzebra.com.